from people who are on our side of the game, right? Guys that no longer are playing baseball. At some point in all of our journeys, we had to make a hard decision, right? I got to shut it down. It's time. I'm not good enough, or maybe I don't have the passion anymore. What was your moment in time where you realized, all right, I'm done playing. Now what's next?
Someone says, if you could drop $20 million in my lap right now, or go back and be a 16-year-old, wake up in my bed as a 16-year-old, know everything I know now, I think I could maybe change the script with a lot of hard work. It was early on in my college career. I knew, okay, like, this isn't going to be a thing.
Right.
So I knew I wanted to stay in the game. And there was no world where I wasn't going to be in baseball, because I just loved it too much.
All right, so today we are joined by a legend in the game, I got to tell you. So we're doing travel baseball spotlights, and I could not do this without thinking about your organization. So today we are joined by Jeff Petty, the CEO and head coach for Canes Baseball. Appreciate you being here.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
So just to level set, I guess, for everybody listening, and to kind of give you some idea of what am I trying to accomplish today. So there's really three things that I think would be valuable for all the parents, players, potential coaches. Number one, what we believe parents are doing wrong. Number two, what's actually happening at the high school travel baseball and the showcase level. And then number three, what's any like direct or insider information that parents could actually act on immediately. So I guess let me start here. With your organization, you know, I'll say this. From people who are on our side of the game, right? Guys that no longer are playing baseball. At some point in all of our journeys, we had to make a hard decision, right? I got to shut it down. It's time. I'm not good enough, or maybe I don't have the passion anymore. What was your moment in time where you realized, all right, I'm done playing. Now what's next?
Yeah, so I was a pretty good high school player, like where I was, but I feel like I was shielded from what was out there. You know, back in those days, I mean, we didn't have travel ball. I graduated in 2000.
So we're the same age.
Yeah, I had American Legion. We won the state championship, you know, All-State, USA Today, All-America, all that stuff. And it didn't, you're beating up on people that are in an hour radius of your house, you know, and there's a lot of really good players out there back in those days. So anyways, I went and played Division II baseball. And quite frankly, I was an average player, and had a below average career. I was hurt. And it was, I think when I got there, I felt really good, but it never really happened for me. So I knew early on in my college career that I wasn't going to play professionally.
Yeah.
But also, like, looking back on it, I always make this statement. Someone says, if you could drop $20 million in my lap right now, or go back and be a 16-year-old, wake up in my bed as a 16-year-old, know everything I know now, I think I could maybe change the script with a lot of hard work. I don't think I worked hard enough either. So, but to answer your question, I mean, it was early on in my college career. I knew, okay, like, this isn't going to be a thing.
Right.
So I knew I wanted to stay in the game. And there was no world where I wasn't going to be in baseball, because I just loved it too much. That probably started at a really young age for me. And coaching was the obvious route. So yeah, I pretty much knew early on in my college career that I wanted to coach. I by no means had no idea that, you know, it was going to go where it has gone these 20 years. But yeah, to answer your question, it was early in my college career. I was kind of the brain was kind of working in that direction. All right, I'm going to coach.
What position did you play?
I played outfield.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So interestingly enough, we played the same position. We're about the same age. So similarly, in that I got to college and realized, all right, look, something was telling me, you know, Matt, this is not in the cards for you, right? Yeah. And I also had this desire, like, for me, it wasn't coaching. For me, it was like, I want to be associated with the game. And I had the luxury at that point of meeting certain people, and I read a specific book that really intrigued me. And so I reached out to my junior college coach, who told me, call this guy. And that led me into this side of the business. But I guess in college, did you see anything from that last coach that either was something that, like, you recognized and appreciated, that you thought if I can take this and apply it to other players, like that would be impactful. Did that happen or?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was very fortunate. I played for a very good college coach in Paul O'Neill. Matter of fact, he won at all his stops, and he won a lot at the Division III level, and then got the job at UNC Pembroke, and I was his first year there. And he's broke all the records there, all the single season records, career records for winning there. And I was fortunate enough to definitely be a sponge with him and watch the way he goes about everything, whether it be the weight room, practicing, recruiting, game management. So that was something early on, like I did kind of gravitate to watching all of that. And then I also got in the strength and conditioning department my senior year with that guy and interned with him because that was something that always really intrigued me too, that side. But I was super fortunate and have a good relationship with him today.
Yeah.
I just was banged up, injured, played a decent amount my freshman year, but just it didn't work out. And, it was one of those things. He was such a good coach and I have so much respect for him. It just almost pissed me off that I couldn't contribute to the guy, because I wanted to for him really. But still to this day, I have a relationship with him and was able to get a lot of stuff from him in college.
So 2005 was the first.
Yeah, so graduated in 2004 and was a high school teacher the fall of 2004.
PE teacher?
Yeah, PE, teaching health and PE. Had to coach JV football. It's like one of the back in those days. It's like, hey, you want this job, you got to coach football.
Yep.
I mean, I'm a football fan. I'm no football coach. But anyways, and then ran into a guy that winter who I went to high school with, was 3 years older than me, that was running AAU baseball out of Orlando. And he just planted the seed in my head over Christmas break. Hey, I'm running AAU baseball out of Orlando. Why don't you put a team in our 16-year-old national tournament? I'm like, well, that's probably going to cost a bunch of money.
Sure.
What does that really entail? And I played a little travel ball growing up. And anyways, he said, yeah, I'll let you in. Free entry fee to the tournament. Maybe get you a couple free staff rooms, because I was stressing the financial piece.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, I'm making $26,000 at my first teaching job in Robeson County, North Carolina. I didn't have money to front for uniforms, whatever. And he kind of put me at ease. So then I just got to work. Me and my best friend from high school, he went to Virginia Tech. He was graduating and he was available that summer because he was getting a security clearance for the FBI. So he was just off. And then one of the pitchers at my college, Dan Barzo, he was off that summer, and the three of us went and coached that team. But anyways, I beat the bushes that spring coaching high school baseball. I was just really looking for sophomores that were on varsity teams because I was 16 years old. Yeah. So I'm thinking, if you're a sophomore and you're playing varsity baseball back in those days, even now, I mean, and he's an impact guy as a sophomore, I figured, well, if I can get me like 15 of those kids, we'll be competitive. We went down there and we ran the table. We went undefeated that first event, and we lost to Chet Lemon.
Oh, yeah. Chet Lemon's juice.
They were so good.
Yeah.
I know he just passed.
Yeah.
He was a Goliath, man. A lot of respect for him. But, and then when it finished, everybody wanted to keep it going in the fall. I had no intentions of that. I just thought, we'll do this thing, and I didn't know where it would go. But, yeah, needless to say, I'll be the first to say there was never some grand master plan of how things have kind of come together, over the course of the last 20 years and everything that's happened.
Well, and I think what's interesting too is, going back in time to 2005. Yeah, I mean, if there were travel teams, there were few and far between, right?
Not many, yeah.
Most of the travel teams, it was all kind of regional, all local stuff. So you, and correct me if I'm wrong, you seem like you were the first kind of national program. Was that like a conscious thing?
Yeah. So it was in 2009, we won the World Wood Bat, 16-year-old World Wood Bat. In 2008, we were on the field it might have been 2007, we were on the field with your Jason Haywards and like East Cobb, they were Goliaths. And we put a team together of guys from Virginia, Maryland, North Carolina, South Carolina. That was kind of our area. And we hung with them, but we couldn't really hang with them top to bottom, And I think it was 2000, and then 2010 we won it again, but we could never win Jupiter. Like that was, back then everybody went to Jupiter. There was no shutting down,
Right.
all the arms through. And what's ironic is it was in late October, not early October like it is now. All the agents want to shut all the arms down, you know.
No, hey,
you
fair.
get the deal.
Fair
and
point.
Like back then there was no such thing. I mean, all the agents were there, all the scouts were there, and it was just everyone played in Jupiter, and it was the best players there were in the whole country. And we could never get over the hump. I remember we went toe-to-toe with Marucci Elite in 2011, I believe, or 12. And we had a kid named Jamie Callahan from South Carolina. He ended up making it to the big leagues with the Mets, I believe. He pitched I think a complete game that night, and we got walked off on in the bottom of the 7th. But they threw a kid from California that was committed to UCLA. He went in the first round. I don't remember the name. I just remember getting on the bus that night, and I was looking at their roster, Marucci Elite. And Chad really, during that time, he was getting guys from everywhere.
Yeah, he was.
And I was looking at his roster. I'm like, here we are. Like, we were very good. But this club that he has over there, they've got guys from California, Arizona, Texas, Indianapolis, New York, Georgia, Florida. And then I started really thinking about it, and I was looking at the names, and all the guys he had were prospects. They were professional prospects. He didn't care where they were from. Like Max Schrock made it to the big leagues.
Sure.
He was hitting a 3-hole that night.
Yeah, Olu, right?
Brandon Lau
was
on that team. He's been an all-star. He's had a great career. But the difference is they had like 7 of those guys. You know, we had 4.
Yeah.
And they could match it top to bottom on the mound. And they won that event. And I think they won it the next year too. And I remember saying that to our guys in the Evo Shield. I said, we got to figure out a way to like branch out. And Evo Shield reached out that off season, and they wanted to strike a deal. And I thought, well, this might be our in to like branch out all over the country, because everyone in the country at the time knew what Evo Shield was. They didn't know what the Canes were per se across the whole country. So then I put a budget together and I started going to area code games. Probably, spend some time with you out there, right? I mean, that's where I really started to meet a lot of agents and scouts, and we went to California and we went to area code games and we went to the All-American game, and we started attacking the whole country and really focusing on, we wanted to put pro prospects on that team, and then it turned into a national team. Because if you're really chasing what you feel the best prospect you can get, you can't stick to a 3-state area.
Right.
And that's how it happened, really.
And so as I look back now, and I saw it on your guys' website, if you, like, how many first-round picks have you guys had now? It was something
it's like almost 40, right?
Yeah, so I think it's at 40 plus, and then it was, 4,000 plus kids have gotten scholarships. On your website, do you have what it takes to be a Cane? And I'm curious, like, what does that mean?
Well, that's twofold. It's obviously you have to be a good player, but I think you have to be okay with someone telling you the truth. We have a lot of players that end up not playing for us because we're so like diligent about telling the truth in the evaluation process. We're not one of those groups that takes the check and says, "Oh man, we're going to pick up the phone.
Right.
We're going to call LSU. We're going to call all these Division I schools," when we don't think that you can play at the Division I level. We'll tell you, we don't think you're a Division I player right now. This is what you probably need to get to that level. If you want to commit to that, then we'll get you a plan in place.
Right.
But there's nothing wrong with Division II, Division III baseball, junior college baseball, NAIA baseball. All of that is great. But I think what we do a good job of is telling the families the truth. And we have reach at all levels. So, I mean, if you can't handle someone telling you what we feel is the truth, and we've seen a lot. We've seen a lot of kids play at different levels. And now in this landscape it's crazy now.
Yeah.
So there's some kids that probably would have committed to Division I schools years ago. They can't get it right now just because it's so backlogged, and with the portal and everything. You're very familiar with the whole process. But I think that's the piece. Like, can you handle being told the truth?
Which is ultimately what everybody needs. I mean, let's be real.
I mean, please, yes.
Well, and it doesn't always happen, clearly. How do you handle a parent, and I know these situations exist, a parent calls you on the phone, let's say it's a kid who maybe he's a two-way guy, there's one skill that's clearly night and day better than the other, and let's just say he's a bat, but he also wants to pitch, or I guess the more common one is the reverse, right? He's an arm, but he probably still wants to hit. How do you handle that conversation with the parent? And does it ever result in like, hey man, if you want to be a two-way guy, it's not going to be for us. Like for us, you're an arm.
Yeah. Well, there's a kid right now who I think is one of the best arms in the class, and he wants to play shortstop. And I mean, he's not going to play shortstop for this team.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've got 3-4 guys that can play shortstop over there, as good as anybody that there is in this class. And as a result of that, we don't get the arm. But I think when you look up in next year's draft, I think he's got a chance to be drafted. And ultimately, that's what's going to happen. You can't tell the parents that. You can, and I did.
Right.
But when a big league team comes calling and they're like, yeah, you can take your bat and put it in the closet.
Right.
And I'm going to draft the arm.
Sure.
What are you going to do?
Yep.
Not take the money, not go start your professional career. And no, I'm going to go hit down the road at, wherever.
Of course. Yeah, legit.
So I'm a travel team. I understand where I'm at in the pecking order. Some people don't, they're like, who are you to say, well, I mean, who I am is someone that has seen it time and time again. And my evaluation is not just my evaluation, but our staff's evaluation is probably accurate.
Well, and I think parents also could assume, oh, well, it's because you have a shortstop. Our kid actually can play short. He may be just not as good as this kid, so we're going to go to this team where he can do both. And yeah, I think a lot of moms and dads, if they don't necessarily have the best ability to judge talent, so they'll see a kid out there and get a couple knocks, and they're thinking, oh yeah, this kid can still play short. He's still a hitter. When in reality, when you're evaluating, you're looking at it from the standpoint of, I know what a pro hitter looks like. Like that's not a pro hitter, so why don't we just focus on throwing? Because the arm is legit. Yes. So shouldn't that be more the focus?
I think so, but I also know, like, to your point, if a kid wants to go hit his last summer, go hit. He doesn't need to play for us to get the exposure. I mean, they're going to find you no matter what team you're on. Mm-hmm. And I'm the first one to say that. I think if you're a dude, you're going to get picked up. You could not even play travel. Like, you could pitch in high school and work out in the summer. I think it's important to go to East Coast Pro if you're an East Coast kid, or go to area code games because then you're getting around the pro scouts.
For sure.
Like, I think that's important. The travel stuff is not 100% necessary. But if you love to compete and you want to get around the best players, I think that's going to start advancing your career.
Yeah, it's not black and white. There needs to be a recognition, and we talk about it on here a lot, that it's not exposure, let's just say, shouldn't be number one, right? It should be development. But with development, you do need the ability to compete.
Yes.
Right? And if you can focus on those two things, then the exposure at the right time is extremely valuable, right?
For sure.
And that's where I think that gets flipped upside down maybe a little bit too much. But also, like, from your perspective, because you're trying to win tournaments, it's like, well, yeah, you also don't want a kid, I'm assuming, you don't want a kid who, let's say, isn't ready to go out there and compete. He's going to get overexposed. Like, that's not the guy that you want in your lineup. So he needs to, like, put some work in to make sure that if he's playing on, like, the national team, yeah, he's ready to go.
Yeah, sure. And, like, kids are going to struggle. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're here, a great example. We open up Tuesday at this USA baseball tournament. It's probably the most competitive tournament of the summer from a competition standpoint. That and probably the UBC.
Yep.
Because it's invite only, and you're just not getting the 400 teams in Atlanta, which we do that too, by the way. There's a place for that. Mm-hmm. But the competition-wise, where we are on Tuesday, it's very tough. And last year, we rolled in here. We practiced one day before, and then we had an exhibition game, and then we played. Well, all our hitters have not seen this velocity. Mm-hmm. They haven't seen this velocity in high school. They're not ready. Most of them are not ready for what they're about to see on Tuesday. And we got blown away for 2 days down here last year. We had the best team, period, last year down here, prospect-wise. And we just got blown away for 2 days. So for me, but when we got to Florida, when we did like a 20-day stretch there. By the time we got to Florida at the UBC, we were dialed in and we won that event. We scored a lot of runs, strikeouts were way down. And this year I said to myself, I was like, well, we're going to come in several days early. So all the kids report today. We don't play till Tuesday.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So it's like we're practicing tomorrow. A lot of our arms are throwing tomorrow against our hitters. So our hitters are going to see our arms tomorrow. And it's going to be, off the grid, no scouts, and just let them get their timing, no pressure, and let them fail. I want them to feel like they can fail tomorrow and not have a million eyeballs on them. And then Sunday, we're going to have a couple arms of our arms throw, and we're going to do like a high velocity machine pitch scrimmage. Just try to get our timing down. And then Monday, we're going to play an exhibition game against a really good club, the Dirtbags. And then Tuesday, after 3 days of that, maybe we moved up our Florida outbreak to Tuesday. I only hope, right? It's not an exact science, but my hope is Tuesday, we're dialed in, we're on time, and we're ready to, because these teams that are rolling in here, a lot of them are coming from Atlanta and they're playing in that MPI. They might face a few arms, but if they haven't been seeing velocity, it's going to take a few days for them to adjust.
So you brought up failure and I want these guys to fail. And what's interesting, so I just had the old GM of the Mets, Zach Scott, on my podcast, who literally said those exact words. He said, look, from an evaluator's perspective, from a front office perspective, when we watch these kids, these prospects in the minor leagues, we want them to fail before they get to the big leagues because inevitably they're going to fail. And so how do they respond? How do they deal with all of that? And so it's interesting because even at the level that you're coaching, you want to create an environment where failure is okay. It's a safe space where you can learn from it. And you said it scouts aren't going to be there, right? It's just us, go out there and play some, baseball. And I think it's a great reminder because way too many kids treat the summer as though it's life or death. And they carry this weight. And whether it's, I have to improve my draft status, I have to get ranked higher, whatever the expectation is, we need to level set and be hey man, no one's capable of carrying that weight at your age. You just go play baseball, right?
Yes. No, so many of them get caught up in it. And like you said, there's so many different scenarios where kids didn't have great summers, but then they worked through it. However they worked through it, training, went out the next spring, had great springs, and were high draft picks.
Right.
So it doesn't, there's a kid that we kind of mishandled last year a little bit. And he's not pitching for us this summer. And his agent, who's a good friend of mine, he made a comment. He's like, I don't think he's going to pitch a lot this summer, which he actually turns out he's going to, but there was a plan that he wasn't going to. He's like, I don't know if he's going to pitch a lot this summer. And the reality of it is, he goes, the last 6 outings of his high school season next spring is really how he's going to be evaluated. Well, I agree with that to an extent.
To an extent, right.
You got to get...
I could disagree a little bit with that, yeah.
Yeah, so could I. I could shoot holes in that.
Yeah.
He's been in the industry a really long time, and I have a lot of respect for him. But, yeah, it comes down to the spring. But what are you doing between now and next spring to get you ready for the spring? That's the argument.
Yeah. Well, and there's still...
Iron sharpens iron.
That's right.
Period.
Well, no, and look, I think there's an element of understanding, if you are, I'll speak from my perspective, if I'm representing an absolute dude, right? There obviously is a level of care that you have to have for that situation. My personality is one where it's look, put it out there, show everybody who you are. The decision makers of all decision makers are going to be out there running around all summer, right? A lot of the data that they collect is what's going into their model.
Yeah.
So on some level, it's not that the summer's the most important, it's a part of the story, right?
Yes.
All this whole next year for a guy that's going to be a senior, it's all going to tell a story. So how do you want the foundation of that story to be told? And so that's kind of how I look at it. Now, I'm not saying that this individual is wrong by any means, because every situation is unique and different, and you have to analyze it totally, specially for them. but it is something that I think people need to realize, like, there's no hiding in this game, right? You're not going to, if you think you're a first round pick, you're not going to hide your way into being a first round pick, right?
No.
It's just not going to happen.
No.
What is one of, I guess, maybe the biggest misconceptions that you think parents have with the travel baseball world?
Misconceptions. I think some of them think that just because you play travel baseball, like let's say in a pretty well-known organization, that all of a sudden all these doors are going to open up. It's not going to happen.
Right.
It doesn't matter what you play, CBA, GBG, Canes, Dirtbags, whatever it may be. That doesn't open the doors up for anything other than if you do perform in those organizations. It just so happens that most of the coaches in those organizations and some of the higher up people in those organizations literally have connections everywhere. Mm-hmm. So a lot of doors can open up then. But that's a big misconception.
Yeah, there's no shortcut.
No, it doesn't matter. I mean, there's so many travel teams now. You don't have to play travel baseball, man, to get out there and get a scholarship per se. I'll be the first to say that. I own a travel ball org, and I'm sitting here saying you don't have to play travel baseball to get a scholarship. But I think you need to play competition. If you're just the best guy from your hometown and you just stay in your little hour pocket, it can get a little dicey when you get out of that window.
Well, it's like anything else in life, right? At some point, you have to be challenged. Let's see how you respond to it.
Yes.
There's no, again, you're not hiding yourself. There's no safe space where you can like control every environment you're ever in. Like on some level, again, there's a reason why all these people that know the game of baseball are saying you need to go fail.
Yes.
So like how can you almost quicken that process so that you could start learning the lessons? I think that's a great point. Yeah. And I do think that there are many people out there that think, no, I'm going to join this organization and they're going to make a phone call and they're going to get me a scholarship. And yes, while that may happen, it's not because, it's only because of the organization. On some level, it's like, no, that kid must have had some level of talent for that player to get this opportunity.
A great example on a higher level would be like Mackenzie Gore is from a small town here in North Carolina. He never really did a bunch of travel stuff. He did his last 3 years of high school in the summers only. He played for us. And we saw the progression, but he didn't get invited to the Perfect Game All-American game. He didn't go to the national showcase. And I just called Perfect Game. I'm like, hey, we've been out on this road trip in June. We were kind of bouncing around the West Coast that summer. I was like, this kid, you might want to put him in your All-American game. And they're like, well, we haven't seen him. I'm like, well, we'll throw him at Lake Point at the World Wood Bat. And you tell me, but I mean, you might want to put him, because we don't put people in the All-American game back then that don't go to the showcase, whatever. Well, he went out and just dominated.
Carved it up, yeah.
Dominated and just did what he does, and he got into the All-American game.
Yeah.
Well, he was third pick overall, but he got into the All-American game. He wasn't even picked to go to the high school All-American game.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is that kid was a stud.
Mm-hmm.
He just, it happened for him a different way. He might would have been more high school Perfect Game famous if he would have done a lot of the stuff, but he didn't. And my point is, it didn't matter.
It didn't matter.
Didn't matter. He's the number one pitcher up the road in DC. He leads the major leagues in strikeouts.
Oh yeah, no,
it's
kid's nasty.
Yeah,
there's no question.
It's not anything we did.
Right.
We didn't play 1 ounce in his development. I mean, not one. Just put him in competitive environments when he was in high school. He had to get out better hitters playing for us than a 1A high school down the road.
Yeah.
That probably helped his development maybe, but we didn't teach him. We weren't talking about pitching mechanics or your slider or, anything of that nature.
All right, so let me ask you a question, because this is an interesting conversation. So when you have a guy who you're like, okay, this guy is special, right? And there are a lot of really good players, but I'm talking about like the one where you're like, hey man, you're going to call Perfect Game and say, this kid needs to be in this game. When you look at that guy, I'm sure you have your hands on a lot of the development that does go on with a lot of players throughout your org. When you see a guy like that, how is it different?
Well, in his case, he walks in the door. There's an old saying, man, you don't fix something that isn't broken.
Uh-huh.
You leave that dude alone.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you leave that dude alone. I mean, in my opinion, some of these guys out there would like to put their stamp on it and say, oh, well, I think maybe you should throw from the left side of the rubber, or maybe you should change your arm slot, or if you grip how you gripping your slider now? Well, if you grip it this way, nah, dude, just leave the dude alone.
Right.
That's my thing. Like, we're going to be together a month right now with our club, and there'll be some kids struggle, and if they need extra work, our staff is unbelievable. I mean, we have, an incredible coaching staff. Have some of the best coaches, assistant coaches on the staff from top to bottom. We have we can dig in with you if you need it, but chances are we're probably just going to let these guys go and have fun and relax, and you're more of a mental coach than anything else.
Yeah, right. Well, and you look at even in pro ball, guy gets drafted, goes to instructs the first year. And a lot of times, I think kids maybe incorrectly assume that, when they sign a pro contract, they're going to go to the minor leagues and like all of a sudden people are going to start working with them. That doesn't happen. A lot of times they let the kid just go out there and play. Yeah. Partly because, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But also the scouting community that just watched you for the last couple of years, well, now it's the player development community, and they're not as familiar with you.
Right.
So they want to get their eyes on you first before they start tweaking stuff.
Sure.
And so I think it's a little bit of like, oh, I have an itch, let me scratch it sometimes, where I feel like as a player I have to be doing something.
Yeah.
And that's where I will pay you a compliment is getting with the right organizations. You can trust that if they're not messing with me, then it's probably because I'm doing something right. If they feel like there's something I need to be doing, I trust that they're going to be able to, convey that to me in a way that'll resonate.
Sure. No, that's important. I mean, you definitely want to be with an organization that will tell you the truth and also leave you alone when things are going well. Last thing you want is someone digging in on you when things are going well, and then things, that just doesn't make any sense at all.
I know you guys get really involved with the college, process. When a college coach calls you guys on the phone, and let's just say asks about a player, like what are they inquiring about? Like, what are some of the questions?
Well, nowadays it's a lot of based on need, like what do they need? But it's always the first question out of their mouth is, obviously what kind of a player are they? Mm-hmm. But then it's what kind of a kid are they? That's a lot of these coaches don't want turds running around their clubhouse. So, that'll stop the conversation right away if we say, yeah, we had that guy, he's pretty daggone selfish.
So what could a kid do? Because I really want everybody to hear this. Like, what could a kid do? For me, it's a little bit of common sense. It's like, well, be a good kid, right? Like, we all know what that is. Work hard, right? Invest in the organization. Invest in a relationship with your coaching staff. But is there something that jumps out to you? It's like, the kid needs to be this.
I think kids need to walk in a clubhouse or in a locker room, and they need to embrace the role that they're given. Like, and not bitch and moan and complain when they're not hitting in the spot they want to hit or playing the position they want to play. Like, you get to a certain level, it's just not going to work. Like, college coaches do not want to deal with that.
Right.
Like, if you think you're going to walk into any college clubhouse and say, I'm the shortstop. Well, what if the coach needs you to play left field? Or what if you're going to play second base? You're just not going to play? And then you're going to complain and moan and try to bring in negative energy to the clubhouse. And then now you've got sidebar conversations going on with your teammates about the staff. It's just negativity. it's draining the positive energy out of the clubhouse. And that just doesn't fly at the next level, man.
Mm-hmm. No, and it's a great point because, in a way, what I'm almost hearing is like you correct a lot of that behavior well before the kid even gets to college. Because I
try.
Yeah, right.
I try. Like that's like one of our main things that we work on. And like if I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. Dude, I understand you start at your high school, but you're coming out of the bullpen here. We need you to come out of the pen today. We'll flip you the ball in the 5th inning. We play 7 innings.
Yeah.
Shut this thing down for us. I'm sorry you're not starting, but if you don't embrace that role and then you're mad or your dad's mad that you didn't start, like the word of that gets out in this community and people get turned off by that.
Uh-huh. I mean, I feel like travel baseball on some level almost leads to it too, because if you're asking a kid, let's say, to come out of the bullpen, I'm sure on some level, if he's thinking like, come on, man, what? Yeah, is he now getting on the phone, calling other teams saying, would you ever throw me in the bullpen? Can I start for you? And now guy's going from you to this other club. And similarly now in college with the transfer portal, I'm sure some of what these coaches are trying to figure out is like, look, man, like we want to know that we're going to have a kid that's actually going to be here with us and not just be a one and done kid. And unfortunately, in today's college baseball landscape, it's a little bit like free agency.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that they're dealing with that much worse than us.
Oh, yeah.
Because, I mean, how many Division I schools are there in the United States? I mean,
yeah,
I don't know what that number is, but it's a decent amount.
Right.
I mean, right? So how many legitimate travel ball teams are there?
Yeah, less.
I mean, substantially less.
Uh-huh.
So, I mean, they're dealing with it way worse than we are. I don't really like the landscape for those guys. I mean, it's
gotten really tough.
Crazy to me what they're having to deal with. But we've been fortunate. I think kids, we don't overthrow guys. So it's like you want to go start for Joe Schmo over here, or you want to come out of the pen behind a guy that's going to be potentially a top 3 rounder out of high school, and all the scouts are there. Meanwhile, look at your lineup. I mean, half those guys are going to go out of high school too. You want to pitch with those guys behind you?
Well, yeah, and I think
I mean, and who gives a shit what inning it is?
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, I feel like
as long as you're like, hey, we're going to throw 45 pitches today,
right?
Whether it's if you're going to throw the 5th, and hey, how long does it take you to get ready? That's on us to learn each kid. Some kids really take a long time to get hot. So then, you can't just, a kid that takes 45 minutes to get hot, I mean, you can't just say, hey, send Joe Schmo down to the bullpen. I mean, you really got to slot that out and say, hey, man, you're going in the 5th. It's the 3rd. I know it takes you, 45 minutes and eat a sandwich to get ready. You might want to make your way on down to the bullpen. So you've got to know your guys from that standpoint. But,
unfortunately in travel baseball where it's like, yeah, if I'm throwing in the bullpen in high school for this travel team, people are going to look at me like a relief arm. If I'm a guy who's really a shortstop, but they're asking me to play third one game and second, they're going to look at me like a utility guy. And I've had conversations with parents where I'm like, no.
Not on our club.
It doesn't matter. That doesn't matter at all. No pro scout is going to see a kid come out of the bullpen and automatically say, oh, this is a reliever?
That's not a thing.
No, that's not a thing.
Not at our level. And that is a misconception, though. You're right.
Yeah. And so my next question is, how much, I imagine you watch a lot of big league baseball and college baseball.
Sure.
Fair assumption, right? How much are you seeing maybe some trends in the game at those levels and seeing that stuff bleed into travel baseball? I mean, I'm imagining you guys play extremely fundamental baseball, right? Which oftentimes happens in college too. But in pro ball, you see less of that.
Sure.
So I feel like what happens, it just starts to bleed down from college to you guys. Is that something that you're kind of like aware of, or? I
mean, I don't know that there's anything intentional other than like things that we kind of jump on based off of things that we see at the next level that we like.
Yeah, that works.
I mean, I really like that a lot of these teams have gone electronic with their signs, and we took it a step further we're electronic with everything.
Oh,
not just pitching, not just our pitch calls. Like we have a watch on every single player, and I mean, I can say where we'd be runners on first and second, I can hit on our iPad in the dugout. I can say, all right, we're throwing behind the runner at first. Right fielder, back it up.
So what?
Right fielder gets literally get a text message. Right fielder says, "Oh, we're throwing behind the runner at first base. I got to back the base up."
That's wild.
You talking about, dude? It's crazy.
That is wild.
So I mean,
when we were in high school, yeah, come on.
So I mean, we really jumped on that, like took it a step further. We have all kinds of little messages going during the game, on that thing. Why not?
Yeah.
They just sit there and look at it and then put it down. It's
That's
right there.
Fascinating. So I guess going back to your comment about what I call kind of like the red flags of players, maybe character-wise, I'm assuming you've been in situations where you haven't necessarily known those things before having a kid on your team, right? You can't know everything about the kid before you get him on the team.
Definitely not.
When you see some of these red flags, I guess, out of curiosity, what are like the biggest ones for you?
I mean, disengagement from the team's success.
So more personalized,
if we're doing really well and guys are getting off the bench, picking guys up, sack bunt, sack fly, score a run, someone hits a homer and you notice that a guy's just like not even coming out to celebrate.
Yeah.
I mean, those are things that start to, they grab your attention and you're like, well, why wasn't so-and-so out? And then you start adding it up in your head and then, you usually smoke leads to fire. Like usually there's something going on where they're pissed off about their role and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a completely selfish mindset, and it just doesn't go well with how we do things.
So will you, like in situations like that, are you pulling the kid aside? Are you having a meeting with them?
I will check in. I won't call them out in front of the team.
That's good.
I'm not big on that, man.
Yeah.
I don't want to show up guys in front of the whole team. I'm not big on that at all.
That's the quickest way to lose respect too from the player. And like, why?
Yeah.
If you pull them aside and
yeah, I'm not on that, man.
Yeah.
I don't think showing up guys in front of the club is good at all. But yeah, man, I check their temperature. I mean, we mismanage stuff too. Like we had a kid on our team last year that didn't pitch a lot. And at the end of the trip, and they didn't complain once. We were kind of checking people's gauge for the Jupiter trip in the fall. And the dad fired me one back. He's like, why would you want him?
Oh.
He hasn't thrown hardly at all. He hasn't, you got him up in the pen, he didn't throw. And now looking back on it, we kind of mismanaged him. We didn't get him. I think he had one bad outing, but that's okay. Like we were supposed to get that kid more time than we did. And it didn't, in that particular case, it didn't work out. And sometimes that happens.
Yeah, so when these college coaches are obviously reaching out to you guys, I think one of the things that I'm at least noticing is okay, there's an acknowledgement that what you value, right, as the head coach and the CEO of Canes, these college programs also value. So if they're calling you on the phone being like, okay, we know he's a good player, what kind of kid is he? It's coming from someone who also values these things at an extremely high level. That, I think, is a good distinction to call out because that is a value that I think you guys are adding to these players. That's almost like unspoken in a sense. It's the association.
Sure, yeah. I mean, and we've been in it so long, college coaches, some of them will call and they'll move on a guy almost sight unseen. Like they're going to see him.
Yeah.
But the recruiting process gets hot fast. But also, if we put a birdie in their ear and say, because we just had so many of our guys go play for these guys.
Uh-huh.
So now you're comping guys.
Sure.
To guys.
Yeah, remember so-and-so?
Remember so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so. It's like that. Or remember so-and-so who...
Yeah, you didn't work out?
Yeah. It's like that. And I'm staying the hell away from that.
Mm-hmm.
So there's just so many comps where, if you've been doing it 3 years... And there's been some travel orgs kind of bust on the scene the last 3 or 4 years that are getting good players. And some of them are doing it the right way, and some of them, quite frankly, aren't. But you can't buy time. Like, you can have all the money in the world and all the resources in the world and everything, but you can't buy 20 years. So when you've known somebody 20 years and you've sent them 40 players and there's all those comps, you can't purchase that.
Right.
So.
What do you, I'm hearing what you're saying with the kid who, the red flag example that I used, and you pull him aside and you address it. How do you handle like what I'd call kind of emotional immaturity?
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh man, there's like, maybe this is a bigger issue. How does that, because I do think, and I don't know if it's just the industry now at the travel baseball or younger level, and I don't think anyone's to blame for this. I think it's more just a byproduct of like this crazy world we all live in where it feels like youth baseball is like professionalized in a sense. A lot of these kids who come up have a desire and a passion to like make it big, to get to the big leagues, to play college baseball. Sometimes through that journey, they don't have the tools mentally and emotionally to like handle what's to come. So even though you could say, okay, they're to blame for this behavior, maybe they just weren't ever taught the right way. So when you see a kid who's like, oh, there's this like rawness to this kid that like we've got to figure out how to work with and through. You guys have so many organizations. Are you guys set up to where it's like, okay, we're going to take you off this team and put you over here where this is more of like development based, where you can like work on that a little bit? Or how does, and I may be asking you a question like you've never really had to deal with, but that's just where my mind went of like, how do we?
There are a lot of mental coaches out there now. That started to become like a pretty booming industry, right? And I have a lot of sympathy for that. If some kids just don't deal with failure really well, it's like extremely difficult. And I'm not one to just bury someone to the side because they struggle with failure. I personally try to lift kids up. And, I'm not to mention names. There was a kid in our dugout 2 years ago. He was really struggling. He's starting at LSU as a freshman.
Right.
As a hitter. But he had a rough summer at the beginning. He worked through it. There was a lot of conversations me and him had where he was really feeling for it, man.
Yeah.
There was early mornings like, can we go to the field before anyone gets there? And then there's a lot of cage sessions, just trying to figure stuff out. And he had a hard time, but he wasn't in a case where he like legitimately had mental issues. He was just struggling with failure. But that's a thing, man. It's tough.
Yeah. Like
I think with age, it helps. But when you're 17, you're 17. Me and you are
44.
I'm 43 or 44. Yeah. Like mentally, like I can handle things that I couldn't handle 20 years ago. And it's back to the old, you can't purchase time things. Some kids are just wired in a way where they can handle it.
That's right.
And some aren't.
Yeah. Well, and I oftentimes remind clients going through like the draft process, for the first time, where they truly are, having to make some really difficult decisions. Do I sign? Do I go to college? What goes into all those different things? And I have to remind them, like, do you know what other kids your age are analyzing right now? Right? Probably, aside from like what school do they want to go to? It's like, yeah, what clothes am I going to wear today? Right? There's not much that is grabbing their attention where they're having to like wrestle. And here you are with an opportunity to live out your dream. And so naturally you carry this weight. And so, yeah, for kids who struggle with some of those things, I think we need to give them a lot of grace oftentimes, where it's like, how do we hold them? You want to hold them accountable, and teach them the things, but at the same time, you need to like recognize if they don't have the tools yet, it's not a level of they're not trying as much as they don't know what to do.
Yes.
Right?
It's a real thing.
Yeah. No, tremendous thing. So what is something that the public totally misunderstands about what I would call kind of like elite travel baseball? And you guys are obviously elite. There's plenty of travel ball teams that are more regionalized and they don't have, the best of the best throughout the country. What's maybe a big misconception about kind of like the elite group of clubs?
I think some of the elite programs, a lot of them, they show up to the field and they give out uniforms. The kids might throw BP.
Oh, wow.
And they go play. I hate to say it. And we just don't do that. We just do not do that. I mean, and I've seen some other teams start to kind of follow in our footsteps a little bit. I mean, I think we just take it extremely serious, like getting them ready to play. I mean, here we are 3 days before an event starts to get them prepared to play. We'll charter a bus off-site and we will take on-field batting practice with a strength and conditioning coach stretching us beforehand, body work, like getting them ready, like if some of them are hurt, like, or they need to be extra stretched out. Just, we go through a big process to get our guys ready to play. And I don't see a lot of guys doing that.
Yeah.
I noticed, like, I don't think it's on purpose, like John Pano, a good friend of mine at CBA, I noticed that they kind of adopted this too. Like last fall in Jupiter, they were over at Cressy, bussing over, on-field BP, stretch. Like, instead of showing up and trying to fight for a cage, and your guys might hit, they might not. And this is before they're going to play a freaking baseball game.
Right.
Like, your shortstop hasn't gotten one ground ball. And I'm starting to see a trend where some guys are starting to take that more serious. But the elite player, that's what they want. If they know they can go get that somewhere, they're going to pick that over, getting the shirt handed to them in a parking lot and mommy and daddy dropping them off at the field an hour beforehand.
Well, yeah, so you guys, you guys are built almost like a professional organization, right? Like, scouting directors and what seems like cross-checkers.
Sure, yeah, we got it, yeah.
And what I love about what you're saying, it's like you're naturally going to attract the guy who wants to play at that elite level.
Pretty much.
And
they all talk to each other.
Exactly. Well, but good for you guys too to recognize, like, look, in order for us to attract and get these elite level players, like, we've got to have this foundation to continue to help them, number one, develop, but be ready to play.
Yes, they got to be ready.
Because the thing that I will say, knowing you and just seeing how you work, you just brought it up, like coming here days before. Like, at the end of the day, you couldn't do that if you didn't love what you do.
Yeah, no, I love doing what I do, but I feel like I owe it to our kids to get them prepared, and I'm doing them a disservice if we don't do that, so there's a lot of pride that goes into, who we pick as our coaches and who, how we go about every decision we make.
Right.
So yeah, just to try to do it the right way. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, being in the game and being able to coach really good players and get around high level baseball. And I mean, who wouldn't want to do that,
So last question.
Yeah.
If a kid is listening to this right now who, let's just say, has a phone call set up with a travel baseball program and wants to know what questions he should ask, what are some questions? Give me like 2 or 3.
I think I want you to honestly evaluate me. But who's doing the evaluation? Is it a guy that has some juice, like that has been through it? Like, I want to know who is doing this honest evaluation. Don't tell me that just because my mom and dad are over here with their checkbook ready to write you a check, that you're going to play shortstop and you're going to get a scholarship to Auburn.
Mm-hmm.
That's crap. Like, honest evaluation of what I am right now and what I could be and what will it take for me to get there. And who's doing that evaluation? I'd want to know who's doing that evaluation.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if we put me and you on the runway at Raleigh-Durham right now, and we're in the cockpit of American Airlines Flight 270, we ain't getting that thing off the ground.
Right.
Me and you flown on a lot of airplanes.
Yeah.
I don't think we've ever flown any. Maybe you've flown airplanes.
That's a great analogy.
I haven't. So we're probably not getting that thing off the ground.
Yeah. So you want to make sure that the person who is evaluating you has a level of experience that isn't just, somebody down the street who
wants to collect a check.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I will say this too, and I think, oftentimes I talk to players about their commitment level. And I think it's important for players to ask the coaches too, like, what is, if I show up as a player and I am committed to this organization, what does being committed to me as a player look like for you, right? Because I think what that'll do is you'll figure out from the coach pretty quickly, like, and not have an answer, then you're going to probably get a sense of like, I'm not sure he's ever even thought about that, because there is no commitment, right? It's just, come on, man, bring me the money, just sign up and like, okay, I've done my job. It's like, no, there needs to be this reciprocal commitment, but only if the player is willing to truly commit and give everything his all. That's where I think it's almost like a partnership in a sense. And when it works really well, yeah, man, you get some great stories, right? These guys become one of the 40 first-round picks you've had, one of the 400-plus draft picks you've had, or one of the 4,000-plus guys that have gotten a college scholarship.
No, I agree. I mean, the player has to be invested, and they have to be. That's what we're peddling here, right?
Yep.
We're peddling the player. So you can have all the contacts you want in the world. Doesn't matter. The player is not invested in it. I mean, we did a podcast with Eric Burns a couple weeks ago, and he said you got to be obsessed with it. The process of getting better. Like, the coaches can't want it more than you. It's not going to work.
When I think players' definition of what obsessed is are two different things too. Like, and I've always, every time I hear like an athlete who says he's obsessed, I think of Conor McGregor. He did this interview and someone asked him the question like, what made you so good? And you could see in his eyes this like sickness. We're like, no, that guy is obsessed. All he thinks about is his craft.
Yes.
And as a player, it's not that it's black and white. There's obsessed and not obsessed. It's like, are you the guy who is competing against these other players and you just like can't get enough of it?
Sure.
Like that to me is obsessed, because that's the guy when, I had Gus Quattlebaum, who's, a VP of scouting for the Boston Red Sox on, and I asked him, what are the three things that every high school player needs to get to the big leagues? And one of them is like, how bad do you actually want this? Because when it gets hard at the next level, which undoubtedly it's going to get, do you have the desire and the drive to push past it when you have every reason just to shut it down?
Absolutely.
Right? Everybody's telling you you're not good enough. Everybody's rolling their eyes. Here we go again. Another 0 for 4 with a couple punchies. Like, do you have what it takes in those moments to like dig deep and say, I don't want to be anywhere else in the world than right here? No. That to me is obsessed.
Yeah, I mean, you just hit the nail on the head, man.
Yeah.
I can't even add anything to it. Like that's a skill and a tool that, if you have that tool, it can really fast forward to some success through failure. And if you don't have it, then like you said, you could crash and burn.
Well, you can make it pretty far. You're probably not going to get to that elite level that we talked about.
Right. No, I totally agree with that.
Well, brother, this has been fun. I appreciate it, man.
Thanks for having me, man.
It's been a blast.
Loved it.
We'll see you at the field soon.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.